welcome everybody to the first ever CSAT sponsor webinar for our Platinum sponsors. This is a new endeavor that we have at CSAT at the Cold Spray Action Team to really support and promote our sponsors, the Cold Spray community, and really the people and the organizations that make this community and make Cold Spray such the force that it is in Department of Defense, in aerospace, oil and gas, and all the other industries that we're expanding into. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Aaron Burt. I'm the CEO of Solvis Global and one of the managing directors of the Cold Spray Action Team. We have a very exciting event coming up in June. Hopefully all of you will be there. This is the CSAT annual meeting. It is going to be in Massachusetts. It's a hybrid event, right? So it's going to be partially in person, about 100 people, and then there's different virtual options. So check out the coldsprayteam.com for more information there. But for today, we're really excited to introduce VRC Metal Systems. They are one of our Platinum sponsors. Many of you know them for the equipment that they're providing, but they're doing a lot of amazing things in this space. So I want to give the floor over to Rob Rabe and Aaron Nardi. Rob is CEO and co-founder of VRC Metal Systems, and Aaron Nardi is the CTO of VRC Metal Systems. So with that, Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you both for your support at CSAT, as well as your continued support of the Cold Spray community at large. Thank you, and looking forward to everything that you have to show us here.
Good morning or afternoon for most of you, I guess. Thanks, Aaron, and thanks for all your support for CSAT. I think CSAT's an important event for all of us, and it's great to get the Cold Spray community together. As Aaron mentioned, I've got Aaron Nardi here with me. He's our Chief Technology Officer, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about an overview of VRC, who we are, where we're from, and then he's going to get into some more technical details about our equipment and so forth. VRC's been in business really since 2013, primarily sprung out of some work with the Army Research Lab on portable high-pressure cold spray. So that's portability and high pressure has been kind of our forte over the years. We've grown over the last 7 years to a full service cold spray provider. So what that means is we do everything from fundamental research and development in cold spray processes, engineering on either applications or equipment development, process development. We do a lot of development of different cold spray processes and applications for our customers. We'll even do a certain amount of fee-for-service repair or manufacturing using cold spray technology. Then once your application gets fully developed and starts cash flow, we can integrate equipment into your facility, include automation or robotics with it, even provide on-site support. Some customers we've done on-site support for, we'll do like a 2-year contract or something. Basically to get you fully up to speed and up and operating as quickly as possible. This is our current headquarters facility in Box Elder, South Dakota, right near Ellsworth Air Force Base. It's a 55,000 square foot facility. We've renovated it specifically for cold spray operations and high bay manufacturing. We've got about 15,000 square foot expansion being built as we speak, and then about another 80,000 square feet that's going to be built over the next couple of years. We also have a couple R&D facilities, one in Webster, Massachusetts. It's about 15,000 square feet, primarily used for development of equipment and processes for the Army, but also the Air Force and the Navy as well. And then the Costas Research Institute, which we held CSAT there a couple years ago. We have a lab there which does R&D as well. this slide just kind of shows where we have systems and where we have systems going in over the next year or so. But what I wanted to kind of show was this regional support concept. We recently signed a contract with the Navy to provide regional support to Navy operations. The idea there is to help them develop applications and components that can be repaired, and train their people so that they can do it indigenously or across the globe. So we've come up with this regional concept. The first couple of those facilities will be out in Virginia, at Chesapeake, right near Norfolk Naval Shipyard. That's the picture of it on the top there. It's about 10,000 square feet. Again, it'll be manned by VRC people, and we'll be able to do commercial work out of there as well as work for the Navy. The second one, which will go in after that, is at Gig Harbor, right near Bremerton, Washington. That'll support Puget and Bremerton and all the shipyards in the Seattle area, as well as commercial work in the Seattle region. Primary markets, we're still focused heavily on DoD and Department of Energy. We have a lot of work in those areas, well established in the commercial aerospace area as well. But we're moving into different opportunities in energy storage as well as heavy industrial applications in oil and gas, nuclear energy, and so forth. So we're really focused on getting this technology out into the commercial environment. And so now I'll introduce Aaron Nardi, who's our Chief Technology Officer. He's going to talk to you a little bit more about our equipment and some technical. Aaron?
All right. Share that. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, as Rob and Aaron mentioned, my name's Aaron Nardi. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about equipment and some of the technology we have currently and technology that's coming out soon. So many of you might be familiar with the Gen 3. That was our first system that was developed in conjunction with the Army Research Labs and South Dakota School of Mines. That's kind of where all this began, and the goal when we developed that system was to have a hand operable high pressure cold spray system to be able to do repairs on complex parts, both in a shop environment, but also on the closer to the applications themselves. So with that spirit in mind, we've also developed two other systems with support from the Navy. The one just below the Gen 3 is called the Raptor. This is now a commercialized unit as well, and the purpose was again a portable system. This particular version is hoistable as well as fork truck movable, and it's got its own wheels. But it's also ruggedized. So this system, you can close up all the doors, and it is water and dust tight. So you could leave it outside on a ship deck, for instance, without being damaged. And then you can wheel it into the environment where you're actually going to be operating it, open it up, and all the equipment is stored inside, the heater, powder feeders, and so forth. In addition, for very high portability, we have the Dragonfly system, which is newly commercialized. So this is the latest add-on to our line of products. This system is hand carryable, actually, and it can be put into suitcases and put on a plane and brought wherever it needs to go. It again has a heater, powder feeder, and then 2 modules for control of the system. It's also got a simplified interface with a teach pendant, very similar to what you'd have on a robot, but it's a simplified version, so it's just start and stop, and so the recipe is built into it. You're ready to go as soon as you press the start button. So also for in the field use, we've worked with RUAG in Australia and developed a trailerized system. This system was delivered to the Navy. The Navy's actually shown this system and demonstrated it several times. It's got a robotic arm attached to the rope or attached to the back of the trailer. You actually back this up to a vehicle so you can do on-wing repair, and the cold spray system and dust collection system and so forth are all on the trailer ready to go. So in addition, as Rob said, we also do integration. So we sell the system, but we can also integrate it into a booth. And we have robotic. We can work with robotics makers and build that into the booth as well. Here's an example of a booth, pretty standard booth. It's got dust collection and tables to work on and robotics. And then we get to even more exotic setups where we also include helium recovery, integration of a robot with machining centers and all kinds of stuff. So depending on what your needs are, there's a variety of ways that we can integrate cold spray into your manufacturing facility. So again, with the turnkey solutions, here's a couple of examples. This example here is actually in the facility that I'm in, where we have a helium recovery booth attached to a machining center. The parts can be transferred between these 2 chambers. We can do the pre-machining, cold spray, post-machining, all on the same machine in the same setup. So there's a pallet that actually transitions between the two systems. This is an example of a system, a predecessor of this, where the machine tool is actually a tool changer. So we can hook up a cold spray nozzle to this, or go into a milling setup and again completely do the part in one setup. Similar example here. This is again another machining center attached to a booth. In this case, it's more of a standard booth. It's not a helium recovery system. And inside there's a robot and dust collection system as well. So we do the full installation, we do the support, we also do training. So you need properly trained personnel, and we can also support you with on-site support. So we do 1 week, 2 weeks, we could do a year of on-site support. It all depends on the need and the time it takes to get the facility up and running and actually putting through parts. And that's our goal, really, is to make sure that the customer, whoever it is able to get the parts out the door that they need to get out the door, whether it's for the DoD or commercial entities. So at CSAT, we're going to be talking about a few new items that we have coming. One is a manufacturing at the point of need, we'll say. So it's basically a system, a complete system in a booth that can go out into the field and be put at a shipyard or out on a depot somewhere. It can be dropped in place, and it can be operating, pumping out parts on the next day. In addition, we have augmented field repair capability that we're going to be unveiling. This is similar to the trailer system that we showed before, but it's got a little more capability. One is the robot is remotable, so you can actually take it off the trailer and move it closer to where you're doing the work. It's also going to have onboard gas supply, which is going to be a big deal because then we can operate for extended periods of time and multiple days at a time without bringing in trucks and trucks full of bottles. And then lastly, we're also we're working with partners to develop cold spray additive, fully additive, turnkey sort of systems. So, you know, in the past years, we've talked a little bit about the additive manufacturing that has already been done with cold spray. And we've demonstrated on parts for instance, Patriot missile systems and so forth. However, this is going to be a more turnkey solution for the average cold spray user. So with that, I guess if there are any questions for either myself or Rob, you can fire those off.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob and Aaron. That was exciting to see all the different options that are available and kind of the growth that you guys have had in the last couple of years. We do have a pile of questions rolling in, and for anybody who wasn't able to start submitting any questions, just go down to the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen. You should be able to submit a question over to us, and then we'll field it over here to Aaron and Rob and have them answer any of the questions. So the first question that we have here is really just, you know, taking a look at the big picture, the next few years. You know, what's going to be happening over the next 5 years? What are kind of your predictions? If you could wave your magic wand or your magic 8-ball around, where are we going to be, and where is VRC going to be?
Yeah, so I guess the big push I see is this getting closer to where repairs are needed. So there's kind of two areas that have a lot of payback for cold spray repair. So I'm going to talk repair first. You know, one is high cost items, and that's what we've been focused on over the past, you know, many years. Is, you know, you gotta pump housing for the Navy that costs $500,000, and if you can spend even $5,000 repairing it, it's a huge win, right? We have a lot of those in aerospace too. But the other area of interest is in kind of those immovable objects, right? How do you get the process to those parts in the field where you need them? And that's going to be a huge deal too. I mean, we've talked to some folks that have, you know, very inexpensive parts, but getting them out of the field is so expensive that it's you have to pretty much replace the item and take you know, complete systems out of service, and that costs a lot of money. So that's one of the areas I see us moving. I also am seeing a bigger and bigger push for OEM solutions. So not just repair, but how do we insert some of the materials and you know, material solutions that we've come up with for surface engineering, high temperature materials, wear materials, all that. How do we bring those back into the part production? And so that's another kind of big area. And then lastly, I think we all kind of know that additive manufacturing, being able to build up features, parts, and so forth, is also a big deal as we move forward. So those are the three areas that I would say are emerging for us.
I think the commercialization as well. I mean, you're going to see a lot more commercial, heavy industry, those kind of people picking up cold spray, whereas we've been focused on DoD and aerospace, which will continue to grow, I think. But I think you'll see a lot more in heavy industry over the next few years.
Awesome, and I think that leads perfectly into the next question we have, which is, you know, seeing where these kind of different directions are going, right? Kind of building your base in defense and aerospace, and now, you know, exploring into these other areas. what are some of these different areas? You know, you mentioned the heavy industry, and then what's the big difference that you're seeing between kind of the existing base versus the kind of growth directions?
So I guess from a technology side, I would say, you know, yeah, we're working with aero and defense, oil and gas, nuclear, and heavy industry, you know, big pipeline components and just big parts for, you know, land moving equipment and stuff like that. And so from a technology side, I see the need for streamlining of materials and you know, reduced cost to apply materials. And so we're engaging in a lot of that activity. There's also much different specification requirements. So different industries, aerospace and defense, have some very tight controls for maybe fatigue criticality on aerospace components and so forth, right? But then the nuclear industry has their own set of requirements that are far different. Maybe those are more materials based, what kinds of materials can go in what areas and all that kind of stuff. When we get over to heavy industry, they need, you know, they need more material. So number one, their parts are bigger, so they got to have a lot more material applied. So you got to manage that, the consumables, right? And then they're looking for performance, but they're not necessarily looking for the same fatigue and so forth that we see on the other side. So they're more looking for high wear resistance, you know, maybe really high adhesion, impact resistance, things of that sort. So that's on the, I guess, on the technology side of it.
I think on the industry side, you're going to see a lot of need for in-field repairs, like field services kind of thing. We're doing a fair amount of that, and you saw that in the equipment. It's all being geared towards in situ operation and that kind of thing. A lot of things like refineries, mining equipment, nuclear facilities. It has to be done in situ, and I think you'll see more and more equipment and services that are designed for that.
Awesome. And we've got a bunch of different questions here around kind of the next generation of equipment and opportunities. I think, you know, you mentioned additive. There's a couple of different questions that we have here around, you know, what does that next generation look like? What are some of the capabilities that it's going to have? And then what are some of the challenges, right, around path planning of let's say the additive versus the additive cold spray versus, you know, a layer by layer powder bed, and how do you see that playing out in the next generation of systems that you're designing?
Yeah, so let me go at this a couple different ways. Number one, we're going to have a lot more detail in our CSAT presentation, so I don't want to take away from my own presentation in a month or two. But secondly, I guess the next systems, we talked a little bit about portability and so forth. The next big items aren't even necessarily going to be new systems. So we are looking at you know, designing a couple new advanced systems. But aside from that, we're also spending a lot of time focused on, you know, talking to the customer and finding out what they need for nozzles, for, you know, other applicators. How do they get into tight areas? Some may know, but we've been able to do a lot with ID coatings, for instance, you know, getting inside of 1.5-inch diameter holes up to, you know, pipes that are fairly large and fairly long, right? So being able to go into a 10-foot, 12-foot, 20-foot pipe is kind of a big deal if you need to apply a corrosion or wear resistant material or something like that, right? So those are areas we're focusing a lot of our effort on, are trying to enable those unique applications that your standard 6-inch nozzle on the end of an applicator isn't going to handle. Now, we're always developing new methods of heating gases. I mean, that's a big deal. Powder feeders. We're working on a lot of different powder feeder concepts because there are so many unique powders, and you being in the powder industry know this, that are not, they don't all feed the same. So having multiple ways to do that is really important. So that's a focus area for us. Now, as far as additive goes, there are definitely going to be some differences in the way you path plan for additive. We've already experienced that, and I think best example of that is Isaac Nault gave a couple examples in the past 2 years at CSAT, where he's done a lot of work on mandrel additive manufacturing and how do you path plan in order to get the correct thickness of buildup in different areas on that mandrel. So that commercializing that technology, figuring out how to take that capability and expand it, and then also to do a similar thing on a flat plate, building up an entire part, or onto an existing part, adding features onto an existing part. I guess that's the way I'd answer that.
I think all those capabilities rolled into a lot of infrastructure development that has to be done over the next couple of years in terms of training, capabilities, just facilities and those kind of things that make it easy to access this capability, because it's kind of, it's expensive if you're going to try to implement it yourself. But if the infrastructure is there, it makes it a lot more affordable.
Excellent. Well, we're excited to see the development of that. We have another question kind of tailing off of what you said, Aaron. With regards to some of the next generation of, let's say, heaters and feeders and nozzles, is there anything that you can share that can kind of get some of our attendees here excited for what to be paying attention to, what's coming next? And it looks like people are asking for specifics, so anything you can get there to get them excited.
Sure.
You'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I guess I can give you a little, brief on. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to talk about at the CSAT meeting, and I won't show you any of it, but we'll we'll save that. But I said manufacturing at the point of need, and so there's a couple ways to look at that. One is the one that we've been talking about that industrial users will be really excited about, like the trailerized systems, or just being able to take the Dragonfly out to the field and do some repair in the field, right? But the other item that we're really excited about, we're developing with Office of Secretary of Defense, is I guess we'll call it a mobile parts hospital. That's basically what we're calling it, and it's pretty exciting. It's actually a containerized system, but it's a complete cell. So instead of just dropping and taking parts out and hoping the weather's good and all that kind of stuff, it's actually a completely complete manufacturing cell, cold spray manufacturing cell built into a container. And again, I'll show more details about what we're talking about when we get to CSAT, but it's going to have complete onboard capability. And really where this came out of is we had a couple of users who were interested in cold spray. They were interested in bringing cold spray on site and fixing parts that they had, but they didn't necessarily want to or have the space to build a manufacturing cell in their facility. So they saw this as a way to, well, they saw the need to have capability on site temporarily. I guess that's the best way to say. So with this idea, with this container, you can actually take it to a site, you can set up, you can use it for a couple months. We can send operators with the system. So you actually have on-site capability for some period of time. And you're pumping out parts, right? And you could even think about this while you're setting up your own booth. You can have this thing sitting in your parking lot that you can go out and be working on parts, getting ready for when your booth is ready to go. So that's kind of an exciting development for me, anyways.
Awesome. All right, so I think we're running out of time here. We're a little over 3:30, and I think we've just about got all the questions. Is there anything else that you guys want to add? Any kind of last-minute thoughts that you want to share as far as the direction of VRC, CSAT, the cold spray industry as a whole?
Now, for me, I would just say if anybody has any further questions, any comments, or want to know more details about equipment and get more of a precursor on what we're going to talk about at CSAT, give me a call, shoot me an email, let me know. Rob?
Yeah, and I think a lot of things we're looking forward to is the build out of this technology into the, into industry and you might say mainstreaming it. I mean, it's been for the high end user up to now, and I think you'll see it more getting more out into regular industry and becoming a more common technology over the next couple of years. And it's exciting to see. Equipment will be better. It'll be better supported. Those sorts of things, and I think that'll be a big development over the coming years.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you both for being a part of this, continuing your support of the Cold Spray Action Team. I know that's been a pivotal part of continuing to grow the cold spray community. For everybody else who's still in line with us, thanks for being here. Again, this is our first ever Cold Spray Action Team webinar. Very excited to have you all attend, be part of this. Again, if you're interested in sponsoring the Cold Spray Action Team, check out the coldsprayteam.com. You can see more information about the sponsors. You can reach out to any of the Solvus Global staff, and we'll be happy to help support you there. Coming soon, we will have one from Centerline as well as Solvus Global as our platinum sponsors. So we're excited to continue this series. Again, if you have any questions for VRC or Aaron or Rob specifically, you can reach out to them. Their contact info is still on the screen. And we'll look forward to having you all at the next one. And if we don't see you at the next webinars, we will expect to see you at the annual conference. Again, that is going to be this summer. So we're looking forward to having you all out here. Hybrid event. So do be ready to either come show up in person with all of the fun COVID restrictions that we have, or hop in virtually. There's two different options for virtual, and we'll look forward to having you either way. Again, that's June 22 and 23, hybrid event for the annual meeting. We will be having more of these webinars coming soon, and we're excited to have you guys all be part of it. So again, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Rob, and hope you all have a fabulous afternoon.